Hi there and welcome back to the bonus content of chapter 4. So this content is optional, it's not essential for this course, but I created it for the students who want to have a little bit more in-depth course material on the basic design. So that's why I provide it. So what I want to do is a couple of things. I want to make another version of this building, medieval building, by replacing the side textures with a plaster. That was the original concept for the students who follow this course from the beginning. I replace it now with a wooden plank combination, but I want to show how that works with a new technique I learned in this chapter. And in other bonus content lectures, I want to make an LOD, so a simple version of this building, and a bake texture, so that is one texture, so replacing all the materials. So you can use this building for your game engine or in-game. And I use Unity to demonstrate this. So yeah, a lot of extra bonus content. Again, this is optional, so it's not necessary. If you just want to go with the flow without going in this extra content, because in fact you're doing double work, you just continue with chapter 5. All right, let's continue. So right now there is a wooden texture on this side and I want to replace it by a plaster one. So what we'll do is we go to the material setting and add plus, new, and principled, and call this plaster. So we have a plaster material and we're going to apply an image texture, add texture, image texture, and opening, it should be stored right there. Of course, you can find this in the lecture downloads. All right, and I want to duplicate it and pick the specular as well. Change it to non-colored data, put this in the specular, and the roughness as well. So we do not have to do this later. Into the roughness. All right. So if we go to the material settings, and this takes a while because it needs to load all the textures, we're going to select all the faces and replacing it. So, and then we add some extra UV layer maps to add some dirt and leaking. Good. So we go to the tab, face mode, and select all these faces from the side. Oh wow. Let's go to the side view, B. That's way quicker. Quick check, deselect these. Sometimes it happens that you select the wrong ones if you do a selection for all. All right, so you go to plaster, also material view, and click assign. So now we have a plaster, but, and I agree, it looks very boring. So it needs an update. So the first thing we do is we copy this texture and we keep this, and we also add a converter, a color ramp, and a noise texture. Yeah, we combine these, and you know how to do that. And you put this into a mix. So combine these, Alt, a mix node, right? And you, also create a color, brightness and contrast, and make this -0.14 just to start with. Okay, and bring these together. Okay, now you'll get a sort of a camouflage, so you can change this to 2 to get a more spread on look. Maybe 3. No, I think 2 will do. Change this to 8, so it's more rough. All right, and we go for add a vector bump, and we copy these settings and put this into the heat. Yes, and into the normal. And that will apply a nice looking rough texture. And I think we can even go for -0.2. Yeah, even darker. All right, and also want a texture on the side, so a sort of transition from wood to plaster. And for this, we need a new texture map, a UV map. I call this wood, just wood. That's pretty simple. And we go to Add, Input, UV map, copy an image texture, and call this wood. Put this in the vector, and I want to select textures, V2, transparent layers, pick that one, and we need a new mix texture, a mix node, not a texture. Put this in the bottom, and we need, because this is an alpha texture, into the vector. All right, so we need to select all the vertices, go to the UV image editor. I think just by wood you will find wood layer. You size this so it gets smaller. All right, and we select the sides and go to material. Okay, this looks really bad, but as long as you focus on these textures, you will get all right. All right, put this in place, something like this. Then we select that one, size is a bit SX, maybe a bit smaller. All right, then we select these over there and SX and scale it, maybe a bit smaller. Okay, and that one isn't necessary, just drag it back. Won't have effect on the UV map. And rotate it, scale it, make it a bit bigger, and put it in position. So if we go to UV map and we take a look, something went wrong on this. And that's probably because it's not assigned. Yes, that's the reason. That's pretty weird. UV map. All right, so what we have is a transition on the sides, but I also want the leaking texture. So we go for the leaking, yeah, and I want to select these. We'll go for these, and I think that should be a sort of a present. If we copy these and we click leaking and click on the leaking these, if we just put this over there and pick the color into the bottom, use the alpha into the factor, yes, and go back to the UV map, that will add the leaking, and go for softed light to diffuse it a bit more, and so you will have the leaking effect on the plaster. And you even can add color mix RGB right there, and use this slider to increase or decrease the leaking effect of the of the leaking. All right, so plaster with some color variation and leaking is one of the cool things you can do to make a new version or another one. So let's take a look how this looks when we make a render. So it looks like Kraken or old plaster in combination with the leaking and the sides pretty well. All right, so this is the end of this lecture. I can recommend to do the same thing on the other side, just to copy it. I will not do that because it will be double work and a bit boring for you. All right, so in the next lecture, we're going to work on, well, let's turn this off, on LOD. So we're going to transform this high resolution into a low version. Okay, that's it for now. Bye-bye.